Hi, I'm Chris Heiser from Internet2 and University of Pennsylvania, and this is Grouper Training, the Developers and Architects Track Web Services Part 4. So we're going to cover some of the operations for web services. We're going to do half of the ones as of version 2.1 in this part, and then the other half we'll do in Part 5. So we'll talk about add, delete members, get members, has member, get memberships, group save, delete, find groups, stem save and delete, find stems, and in the next part we'll talk about get subjects, get assign privileges, get assign attributes, get assign permissions, member change subject, attribute name, save and delete, find attributes, and attribute inheritance. So web services is a component that runs as a server. It uses the Grouper API to connect to the Grouper database, and then clients around the institution can connect to the web services or outside of the institution to do secure calls over SOAP or REST. So the first operation we'll look at is add member. So if you go to the add member documentation, if you start here, go to add member. This is just the, if you Google Grouper Web Services and go to the main Grouper Web Services page, then you can click on add member. And then I'm going to click on, not the light one, but the regular documentation. And so basically, this is the Java doc for the Grouper Service Logic class. It's the part of the web services that all the structs and beans go into. So here we have all the operations, and we can click on add member. And this is going to tell you what all the inputs are to this operation and what the output is. And basically, I'm just going to swap out branches 2.1 branch for trunk so that we can see this version of the documentation, which is probably similar. And we can see that the main inputs to add member are the group that you're adding to, and that is specified with a group lookup so that you can specify by name or UUID. That's covered in another training video. Subject lookups, so you can send in multiple subjects that can be added to that one group, and these two things are required. And then you have some optional things. You can replace all existing. If you send a list and you just want to replace whatever's there with this list, then the web service will see what's there and decide what it needs to add or remove in an efficient way. Maybe it doesn't change it at all. Field name, groups can, group lists can have a name. So if you want to add the member to a certain list, like the students list or the faculty list, you can do that, and possibly also the different privileges like the readers or the add-ins. Disable time or enable time if you want to set a membership for the future or disable a membership. And then add external subject if not found. If you specify a EPPN and you put true here, then it'll add that to the external subject store if you're using that, so that you can add a subject that isn't actually resolvable yet. And then there's some other parameters too that I've taken out of this presentation that are common to a lot of the web services. So the client version, the transaction type, you could have a transaction or not when you're adding all the members. Include group detail on the response if you want more information back. Various params that are reserved for future use if you want more subject information coming back or specific subject attributes. So those common things I'm not going to go over in each operation, but you can look at the documentation and see it. So after you add a member or add members, if we look at this results object, basically what we're going to get back in SOAP or JSON or whatever is the usual stuff like the response metadata and result metadata, and then we'll get a list of results, and we'll get information about the group that was assigned to. So you'll get the group name and description and perhaps details. And in the add member result, if we zoom in on that one, basically we'll get the subject that was added, and you could get more information about the subject there. And then the result code is going to tell you what happened. So this result code will either say success, it was created, or success already existed. So you can see if the member was added or not. The result objects, I'm probably not going to go over for each operation either, but you can go to the documentation and click on the result object, and you'll see what's returned for that operation. The delete member operation takes a group lookup and one or more subject lookups that you want to delete, and then a field name if you want to delete from a certain membership list, like professors or students or whatever. And delete member also takes some of the standard stuff like client version, all the other stuff, and then the result will give you codes for each one that say if it was actually deleted or if it never existed, and it didn't have to be deleted. Get members is an operation where you can get the members of a group, and basically you pass in one or more group lookups, so you can get the members of multiple groups at once. For the regular operation, I think the light operation, you can just pass in one. And then for the member filter, you could get the members that are all of them, immediate, effective, non-immediate, composite, etc. The field name is if you only want a certain list back, otherwise it'll either default to members or return all. I think it's default to members. Source IDs, if you only want to get like the people, but not the groups that are members of the group, and you can pass in whatever source ID you want for subject sources. And then point in time from or to, if you want to get members either from a certain point in time or a range or whatever. So get members also has the other parameters like client version and so forth. And then in the results object, basically there'll be a result. I think the result is for each group that you pass in, and then the result will return that group and a list of subjects based on what parameters you passed in. Has member. This operation is checking to see if a member is in a specific group, so you don't have to get all the groups for the member, you don't have to get all the members for the group. You just pass in one group lookup and potentially several subject lookups. You can do a member on multiple at a time for the batched operation, not the light one. And then a member filter, you can see if it is an effective or an immediate or whatever. And then field name is if you want to check a certain list, and then the point in time from or to. So was this person a member on a certain point in time or in a certain time range? You can ask that. And this one, when it comes back, it's going to return a result, and this is also going to return a set of inner results. And this one is going to have a code that says is a member, is not a member, and both of those successes. So the web service, whether you're a member or not, is going to return true or false for is member or is not member. If the subject is not found, then obviously it's not a member, but you can check that code as well. So get memberships is going to return the membership object, which is sort of like has member. You've seen if someone's a member of a group, but it also returns other metadata like the enabled or disabled dates for that membership and so forth. And you can filter in a lot of different ways to find the memberships for a group of person. So you can pass in group lookups, subject lookups, and I think you only need to pass one or the other of those. I'm not sure. And member filter, you could do all effective, immediate, non-immediate memberships. Field name is if you want to do students, professors, etc. And then scope, you could find all the memberships in a group names that have a certain like string with percent as a wildcard or underscore as a single wildcard, percent as multiple character wildcards. If you need to do that. You can also specify things in a certain stem, which is a folder. So you could send in a stem lookup by name or ID and a stem scope, which is either right in that folder or in that folder and in all subfolders. So that's a useful thing when someone logs into an application and you would go and see what all their memberships are for the folder for that application, and you can get all the roles of that user if the application needs to know that. Enabled, A for all. If you don't pass in anything, it's only going to return enabled memberships, not things that have been disabled, or F for disabled. And membership IDs, if you know what those are, you can pass those in and you can get certain memberships by ID. So this operation is going to return a lot of information. This is get memberships. And basically, of all the memberships that are found and returned, it's going to send back just overall all the groups for all the memberships, and then obviously the membership objects and all the subjects. So if there are memberships that span multiple subjects or multiple groups, that group struct is only going to be sent back once in the outer container of the result, which basically just saves a little bit of space and latency and everything in the web service request. So the group save operation is for adding or editing groups. So you have to have permissions on the folder if you're going to add groups, or you have to have permissions on the group, admin permissions, privileges, to edit that group. And basically you're going to pass in a list of group to save objects. So you can add multiple groups at once or edit multiple groups at once. And that group to save object is going to have a group name, other information like the description and display name, a lookup. If you're editing an existing group, you can pass in the ID or name of the group you're editing, and then composite info if you want to save a group that is a union of two other groups or something like that. So basically, this operation sends in an array of group to save objects, and this group to save object has a save mode. If you want to say it has to be insert or it has to be update, or insert or update. It doesn't matter if it exists, update it. If it doesn't, insert it. Create parent stems if not exist. You could have those folders created for you if they're not already there. And then the group lookup, if you're editing a group, you can pass that in and it will find the group that you're editing. And the WS group object has all the information about the group, like the display name, display extension, description, name, etc. And then the group detail has the stuff like the left group and the right group and composite stuff. You can also assign types and attributes, the old style ones, with this operation. The group delete operation, basically you're just going to pass in a bunch of group lookups and it's going to delete those if they exist, or tell you that they didn't exist if they don't exist. They don't have to delete them. It's not an error. That's an example of idempotency of the web service. So in case the operation accidentally gets sent twice, if the client thought there was an error or something. If the group doesn't exist and you're trying to delete it, then that's fine. It'll just return a code that said it was already deleted or it doesn't exist. Find groups. With find groups, you are going to pass in a query filter or group lookup. So if you just want to find things based on name or ID, you can pass in an array of group lookups and it'll return those group objects. The WS query filter is basically an object where you can have Boolean logic on subfilters like and or, and then you can match the name or like string of the name, UUID attribute type, etc. So with find groups, we're passing in a query filter, and this query filter has query filter 0 and query filter 1 and query filter type, and basically you could do and or minus with the subquery filters, or those could be null, and you could just find by stem name, group name, approximate attribute, etc. So you can pass these in and get the results, and also you can pass in page size, page number if you only want to return a certain amount for the screen. You don't want to get too many back. And then also ascending and sort string on that too. The stem save one is what either creates or edits stems, which are also folders. So with the stem save, you pass in the stems to save, which has the name lookup or description or whatever, and it's basically a lot like the group save one, except you can't have the details on the stem, so you can't do the group math or anything you would do on groups. It's a lot simpler for stems or folders. You just pass in the name, display name, description, etc., and it'll create or edit that. Stem delete is a lot like the group delete. You just pass in the stem lookups, which are either the name or UUID of the stem or folder, and then it will delete those. And again, if the folder or stem did not exist, then that shouldn't be an error. Find stems is a lot like find groups. So there's a WS stem query filter, and just like the find groups one I just explained, you can search by name, UUID, approximate attribute, and you can do the group math on that and or minus whatever. So you could do, it matches this name or it matches this name, things like that. And let's just take a look at the Java doc on that one. So this one also has paging and sorting on it, so you could page for a UI. And then you pick, either you are doing that query filter part, or if you know the stem names or UUIDs, you can pass in stem lookups and go that way. Click on the quiz link in the video description to reinforce your knowledge of this topic. And thank you very much. For further information, you can look at the wiki or the mailing lists, downloads, grouper demo, training website, etc.